Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something really powerful: memory, miracles, and the monuments we build to make sure we don't forget. So let's jump right in. You ever really think about that? I mean, all over the world, you see these towering statues, these little plaques. It seems like we humans have this deep, deep need to remember, to mark important moments. But what if the most important memorials aren't the ones made of bronze or stone? What if they're the ones we build inside our own hearts? To kind of get at this idea, let me tell you a quick story. There's this professor, and he's driving along when he sees those flashing lights in his rearview mirror. He gets pulled over by a police officer. It's a totally normal, if kind of stressful moment that I think we can all picture. So the officer walks up and asks for his license and registration, and that's when he gets that sinking feeling. He realizes his wallet is sitting back in his office. So he explains the whole situation, mentions he's a professor at the local college, and just kind of prepares for the worst. But the officer, after writing the ticket, hands it to him and says something amazing. He says, "This isn't a fine. It's tuition for learning not to forget." Wow, what a line, right? It's just such a powerful reminder that we as human beings are just forgetful creatures. We forget calls, we forget birthdays, and sometimes we forget things that have much bigger consequences. And this human tendency to forget is exactly why, thousands of years ago, a huge moment for an entire nation came with a command to remember. So let's go back in time. We've got a brand new generation of Israelites, and they're standing right at the edge of the Promised Land. But there's this one massive obstacle in their way: the Jordan River. And it's not just a river, it's flooding, overflowing its banks. It looks completely impossible to cross. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the specific instructions God gives them. First, step 1, the people have to consecrate themselves. Basically, they need to get their hearts and minds ready for what God is about to do. Then, in steps 2 and 3, the priests who are carrying the Ark of the Covenant, which for them was the actual symbol of God's presence, they have to physically walk into the raging river. The miracle, step 4, only happens after they take that step of faith. And what a miracle it was. The second the priest's feet touch the water, the river just stops. The water piles up way upstream, like a giant wall, and the whole nation, millions of people, walk across on totally dry ground. Can you even imagine the awe of seeing that happen? But God knew something really important about us. He knew that even a memory as incredible as this one could fade over time. So he immediately gives another command. This miracle wasn't just supposed to be an experience. It was a memory that had to be actively preserved. He tells them to have one man from each of the 12 tribes go back into the middle of the dry riverbed and pick up a huge stone. These stones would become a zikaron, which is the Hebrew word for a memorial. And I think this is so cool. A zikaron isn't just about feeling nostalgic. It's an active kind of remembering. It's a physical sign meant to spark a memory that leads to future action. And this is the genius of it all. God knew that one day, kids will be playing, see this weird pile of rocks, and ask their parents, "Hey, what do these stones mean?" It's a conversation starter by design. The stones were a physical prop to retell the story of God's faithfulness, and it let every single new generation make that powerful history their own. And that gets to the real heart of it. Remembering what God has done in the past isn't just about looking backward. It's all about building trust for whatever is coming next. And here's how that trust gets built from one generation to the next. When they told the story of the Jordan crossing, they deliberately connected it to that other incredible miracle, the parting of the Red Sea. It's like the older generation was saying, "Look, God parted the Red Sea for us back then, and now he's just parted the Jordan for you." The message couldn't be clearer. It's the same God with the same power and the same love working for you today. This storytelling was the foundation of their future courage. This quote from Ellen White just nails it, doesn't it? Our biggest weakness isn't what's in front of us, it's our tendency to forget what's behind us. Remembering how God has already shown up for us is the absolute key to facing the future without fear. Okay, so this is where this whole ancient story comes right into our lives today. If the Israelites needed memorials to help them remember, you better believe we do too. So let me ask you, what are your memorial stones? What are those moments of God's grace in your life that you need to intentionally remember? Maybe you can think back to a time when your faith was stretched so thin you thought it would break. You had no idea how things would work out, but somehow you got to the other side with a trust that was deeper than ever before. That moment, that's a memorial stone.
Or how about a time when you were just flat out terrified? Maybe it was a tough conversation you had to have, or a huge decision, or a scary doctor's appointment. But you felt this courage that you knew wasn't your own, just enough to take that next step. That feeling? That's a stone worth remembering.
Maybe for you, it's a specific verse from the Bible that just jumped off the page and felt like it was written just for you, giving you a little bit of hope when everything felt dark. Or maybe it was a prayer you thought went unanswered, but when you look back now, you see that God answered it in a way that was so much better than you asked for. That's another memorial. You see, when we start to build these memorials in our minds, when we make a point to remember these things, the natural result is just thankfulness. We look back not just to remember a fact, but to grow a grateful heart.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. Our past isn't just a collection of stories, it's a source of strength for our future. So as you go about your week, what memorial will you build? What is one act of God's grace that you will choose not to forget?